Hello everyone, thank you for joining us for our International Women's Day session. Can everyone hear me? Hopefully you can. Cool.
Yes.
Fab, thank you. Okay, so before we start, just a quick note on housekeeping. Please keep yourself on mute while others are speaking, just to not disrupt the session. We will be having a Q&A session at the end, but feel free to type any questions you may have in the chat for us to answer at the end. You're more than welcome to use the chat for any remarks or discussions you may want to have with other attendees as well, but please always be respectful of others in so doing. Now, before I introduce our wonderful guest speaker, I just want to reflect a little on International Women's Day last week. The 8th of March is the one day of the year that is marked specifically for the celebration of women and their achievements, as well as the recognition of how far we still have to go before reaching gender parity. International Women's Day was a week ago, but that does not mean that the discussions surrounding the challenges that women and girls face globally should be shelved until next year. Change and equality will come with consistent perseverance from people like our young changemakers, our guest speaker, and our attendees here today, who are all passionate about gender equality. In the week since International Women's Day, I've noticed one word circulating repeatedly in discussions about women and gender equality. That is hope. Women and girls have hope because we need to. We need to have hope in the face of economic disparity, in the face of gender-based violence, in the face of gender apartheid in oppressive regimes. Hope drives us forward and hope unites us, those who identify as women and those who identify as men, who envision a fairer, more equal world. Joining us today to discuss International Women's Day and the power of lending one's voice for social change is young changemaker Benedicta Apuamah. Benedicta has over 5 years of programme management experience, having worked on the Global Fund and CDC projects with organisations like Management Sciences for Health, the United Nations and SOS Children's Villages International. Her experience spans both grassroots communities and the international space, as she is the founder of Girls for Development Goals Foundation, an organisation that focuses on community health projects in Nigeria, amongst others. More recently, she has worked with the UN ODC office in Vienna as an innovation management intern with the HRMS team. And I will now hand over to Benedicta to share all her wisdom with you all.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad we made this work. So just a moment, I'm going to share my screen and everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, great. So I'll be sharing on the power of lending one's voice for social change. Happy International Women's Day, everyone. So here, this picture you see is, yeah, don't be quick to laugh. That's the younger Benedicta. The first picture on the right is actually a picture of me on my matriculation day, just about to get into the university. While the other picture was clearly a picture of me on my inter-house sport day while I was in high school somewhere in Warri, Delta State, Nigeria. It's really interesting because the reasons or the whys behind my lending a voice was shaped, in this stage of my life. This was where it was shaped. And it's easy to say, oh, well, this is the reason why I'm doing this. But so many of us also have, different experiences in our everyday lives that if we don't decide to say, oh, maybe I have identified a problem or I have seen a pattern that is not good enough, how can I make the change? Until we make that decision, then things will just pretty be this, the same way that it is. And here, the first picture on the right was when I actually joined the One campaign in Abuja, and this was the first training. But this is what maybe most people will see that, oh, wow, she's maybe volunteering with this organization or working without an organization. But what they did not see was the picture right after. This picture was actually before I was selected for the one championship program. I had learned about the Yali network when I attended a conference in my final year in the university. And I decided to not only take the courses on the Yali network, but I thought the things that I was learning was really useful for young people around me. And I just spoke to my mom, who at that time was um, the vice principal of a high school. And I thought young people need to hear this. So I need access to be able to talk to people. And even though I didn't have a complete understanding of what I was doing, I didn't even know what an NGO meant, but I decided to be the change. And that is what lending one's voice really is about. If you identify a problem and you can provide a solution and you can start right where you are, then you're definitely on your way to advocating for social change. And that singular action I did actually became the birth of something great. That's how our organization, the Girls for Development Goals Foundation, was founded. Because when I first spoke to people, about what I wanted to do, they kept saying, yeah, what you're doing is NGO. And I said, okay, other than NGO being a non-governmental organization, I really didn't know what it was about. But that was how it started. And this picture you see is actually first ever event where I gathered over 300 students to talk to them about the campaign. It was a campaign against teenage pregnancy in my community. So the bottom line is start from where you are, and you never know where that could lead you. Um, I cannot overemphasize the opportunities that are within the United Nations SDGs. There are so many opportunities here. And it's important that whatever you do, especially in this space, like you want to grow in the development space or whatever space you find yourself, it is really important to be able to align what you are doing with the United Nations SDGs. I recently created a course on how to access international opportunities within the UN. I will share the link maybe at the end of the session. Feel free to watch and just go through my journey and how you can actually apply it practically to what you are doing. I will just give a brief example so that I'm not talking over your heads. For instance, my background is in health, and like I mentioned, the campaign that we did, how I started was against teenage pregnancy. Of course, then I can align it to say, actually, I'm advocating for goal 3, which is to ensuring good life, and the well-being of people, because I don't know, want young teenagers to get pregnant. So there are ways that you can align this and assess so many opportunities that are available here. Small change with global relevance. So I thought that I was just, trying to do something great in my little community in Nigeria and, just, yeah, talking to girls because I attended an all-girls boarding school, like I showed you the picture. And I had a lot of counselors and teachers, talking to us about the need to take our education seriously and all of that. So I thought I was just giving the same opportunity, like a safe space for young girls to be able to, have the conversation around teenage pregnancy and sex education without really, being judged, by the parents or the teachers. But I didn't realize that because what I was doing was in line with the UN SDG, it seemed to be like a small change, but it actually had global relevance because all of those activities that I did, those projects, those volunteering I did, actually added up to me getting the Ban Ki-moon scholarship to study for my master's degree in Austria. And I feel this is a really important question, especially since we're talking about the International Women's Day. We're talking about women. It's a very important topic, about keeping the dream alive. There comes a point where, yes, I'm chasing my dream and I want to do this. I'm so passionate about the UN SDGs or about global goals, or I want to do this and I want to do that. And but then there also comes a point where we grow. And by grow, I mean maybe we grow into adults, we have to pay our bills, we have to do things. And for those of us who choose to marry, I'm now married with 2 children. So it takes extra effort to be able to keep the dream alive. And this picture you see is a picture of me last year. it was a fundraising dinner for our project in Nigeria. I had to find the balance, between wanting to chase my dream and balance my family life and even my personal life as an adult, being able to work, wanting to further my career and all of that. So you see, despite me now being away from Nigeria, where all of this started, I am still advocating for the cause right here. I am still working towards um what I'm doing. So it's important that at some point in your life, at some point in this career, in you chasing your dream, that you need to find a way to keep it alive, despite the many challenges that will come. Happy International Women's Day again, everyone. And I'm really inspired and excited about the theme for this year's campaign, which is to inspire inclusion. And yes, this was my quote for the International Women's Day. And I believe that celebrating International Women's Day really is about celebrating women. So if you're a woman right here, or you're a man who supports women, happy International Day to you. Just as I gradually come to the end of this presentation, it's important that we keep it, at the back of our minds that the government alone cannot change the world. And really, when we talk about the government, sometimes we are tempted to think of just the leaders who are currently in power, political leaders here and there, but the government is actually you and I. So every time we think about, the government, well, if you're thinking about only the leaders, like it happens to me too, but I'm here to tell you that the government alone cannot change the world. And that's why we all need to make conscious efforts. That's why if the government alone could change the world, maybe the UN SDGs probably should not be publicized. Like just the leaders will have access to them. But it's because a little change here and there, and we can change the world or make the world a better place that we all want it to be. I'm going to be sharing with you just so many benefits, or there's so many powers that are associated, with lending your voice. I'm just going to talk about three here. One will be that you're creating value. So for me, I just gave an instance with how I started, with a campaign against teenage pregnancy and volunteering with one campaign and the others. But in all of that, I was actually creating value. I was creating a safe space for young girls to be able to not only ask, but also get answers to the questions, that were troubling their minds without um, being judged. I was creating value. I was creating value because those conversations will actually make girls to make conscious efforts about their bodies, to know, as that whatever decision I make, it can result to this or it can result to that. I was creating value and I was impacting the lives of people. And I so much like this picture because it felt like maybe I was touching one person or two people, but it was actually causing a ripple effect because those 1, 2, 3, 20 girls I had contact with were able to, impact orders and just like that. And another very important thing that also comes with lending your voice for a social change is recognition. That's how I got the Ban Ki-moon scholarship in the first place. And that's how I've gone on to get other scholarships and other opportunities that I've assessed because because I am still lending my voice for a social change. So now the question is to you, what change are you inspiring in your community, wherever you find yourself? What change exactly are you inspiring? What part are you playing in the entire puzzle? What are you working towards so that it can get better, no matter how small it is? And if you're thinking, oh, what tool do I need to start? How can I lend my voice, Benedicta? All you need is you. You are the toolkit that you require to lend your voice. Yes, you are. And I'm going to show you how. Yes, you are the toolkit. You don't necessarily need to champion the change, like, oh, well, I started this. You can also be the support voice or the supporting voice. I mean, look at the Global Activist Network today. If everybody say, yes, I do not want to support, I want to be able to champion my own thing, then maybe I probably will be saying only Gertrude or Lemona. and then everybody's doing other things. So you don't necessarily need to champion the change. You don't necessarily need to register an organization to start. I have friends who are doing amazing things, you know, who are championing wonderful causes, and they don't necessarily have an organization registered. So you do not need, you know, to be the champion of the cause. You can be, but it's not necessary. And you can start by volunteering. That's how I started. That's how I met Gertrude in the first place. That's how I came about this community. And if you can assess, you're saying, but I don't have a voice, I don't know how to start. But you can assess the media, social media, then you have a voice. Because whether you like it or not, the post that you make, the kind of activity that goes on your social media platforms already shows the kind of voice that you have. It's already saying something. So whether you know about it or not, you already have a voice. If you can speak and if you can talk, then you have a voice. And even if your speech is impaired, you still have a voice. You can paint, you can draw your thoughts to us. You can write it to us. Your presence is your voice. Your picture can be your voice. And all you need to make that change, all you need to pioneer that change, all you need to lend your voice for that change really is you. So at this time, I'm going to ask, do you have questions? And yes, and I'll provide the answers. And if I cannot answer, maybe someone here can answer. So please, let me know if you have questions. Thank you for having me. And thank you for listening.
Thank
Yes,
you, Benedicta.
Thank you.
well, hey, do you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes, thank you. It was a very nice talk. I'm very, very begeistert, we say in German. It was very amazing. Yes, English is not my mother tongue. I've only learned it at school. I am from Austria, from Vienna. My parents are from India, and I've been born here in Vienna. So my question was, here in Austria, you have studied. What have you studied here in Austria?
Okay.
If I'm allowed to ask, yes.
Yes, it's okay. I studied international health and social management at the Management Center in Innsbruck.
Well, great. Well, I'm not from Innsbruck. I know Innsbruck. Great. Vienna is the capital city of Austria, and I thought you have studied in Vienna because I've studied law in Vienna. I've done everything in Vienna. First of all, I was born in Vienna. Then I went here to the kindergarten. Then I went here to the elementary school. Therefore, my mark sheet was so well, so I went automatically to the gymnasium. I've done the Nachsprachliche Matura. This means I've learned English, French, Latin at school until the Matura. Then I've studied the National Business Administration, and then I changed to the university, from the Commerce University in Vienna to the University of Vienna in the first district, to the judicial department. I've studied law. Then I have done the training for becoming a judge. And then Corona began, and I got ill, and so but I have done a lot of things in the last few years online in education, and I don't know how it will be go on. Maybe I will study something else and so on. It was a great pleasure hearing you. It was the excellent talk I've heard in the last few weeks. Everything is very, 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 very real you have told. And a question I do not have at all. Only that I'm glad that today it is functioning with this event, online event, because on the Women's Day and the last appointment, there were too much disturbance, as you will remember too. The question is where we are now and what we want. In the past few weeks, in the last year, I've done a lot of items with leadership, making myself becoming an expert for leadership. Therefore, I'm also participating in nowadays in the Europe 1.1 program. But in 1 week or so, it will be ending. It is interesting. And leadership is also a very important topic, because without leadership you can't exist nowadays. You have to know the common efforts about leadership and everything about leadership. I think leadership is very interesting. I have done one course. This was in German last year. Then I've done another one. This was the introduction to the leadership program. Then I've done this one from the Cornell University of Leadership. Then I've done something else. This was the Green Leadership Academy. Then I've done this some of the mocks. In the last year, I have mainly done items connected with leadership. Yes.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for sharing. Thank you. And
Yes.
know that you're in Vienna, so I am in Vienna, and maybe you can reach me on my social media handles, and yeah, you'll be great to.
Yes. Okay.
Thank
Thank you. I will take this. Yes.
you. I think I see a question in the comment section. Okay.
Yeah. So it says, what inspired you to focus on teenage pregnancy and how do you balance your career with motherhood?
Okay. For the what inspired me to focus on teenage pregnancy, it's because at that time in my community, well, I didn't do a proper needs-based assessment like I know to do now, but I did see that a lot of young girls in my community, some schoolmates or classmates or former classmates or schoolmates, young girls were actually getting pregnant, out of school. So that's how I thought, yeah, I think this will help them, by creating a platform where they could talk. And as to how I balance everything with motherhood, I'm sorry, I'm trying to scroll through the chats. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that, but I just take it one day at a time. And I'm actually grateful to have a very supportive partner who helps me with everything. But yes, it is not easy, but it is possible. Thank you, Eunice. Shed light on how you become resilient on all the supportive factors that help you keep going. Yes, I mentioned that my partner is supportive, but of course, apart from that, you have to keep yourself in the space, friends who are like-minded, mentors, people who you can have conversation with about, or who know exactly what your passion is, what you're doing, and how best to help you. I think that is something that is really important because
Yes.
you need to be in the
Yeah.
space of, around people who would not only keep you going, even people who can share opportunities with you, who say, oh, this is going on and I think you should try it, or this is happening. Like Gertrude can also has been that person to me too, who says, there's an opportunity here, can you apply? Oh, and I have so many other Gertrudes in my life who also do that. And I also have other people who I do the same for. So it's important to keep yourself in the space of, around what you want to do, people who keep you going. It's important. Samantha,
I think someone's raised their hand. Yeah, Samantha,
Yeah.
you can unmute yourself.
Well, if there's no one, then I can speak. Well, teenage pregnancy is a very important issue, very important topic. It is a topic which I'm connected since my beginning days at the gymnasium. We have a lot of topics at school at this time about teenage pregnancy. So I had a lot of idea. And what we say in German, Aufklärung, this is very important that the youngsters and especially the young girls and women knows everything about sexuality and contraception and pregnancy, so that young girls don't do any kind of mistakes in this sort. Well, there is not any right contraception. Pregnancy can always happen, yes, but if you have and sexuality you can't avoid in your life. If you have it, then you have first to know if you what will you do when you get pregnant. If you will get the child, yes, then this is the best solution. Otherwise is not so good for your own health. So sexuality must be only done then when you're ready with having a child, although making school complete or university or studying or doing whatever. But this family life and family thing and the item with the child is also very important. And sometimes it's much better that young women get pregnant and get their child, because if they are waiting with it, it is sooner very late not to get any child anymore naturally. this is also important to not to avoid for becoming mother. Motherhood also a item which is very important for every young woman. When she is a mother, she has to take care of her child. Yes, all the important issues in life. Without you, then you can't exist. And also, it depends on the partner. If you have a nice partner, it's very good. And if you have a partner who is a tyrann somehow, taking your twins and educating them alone without you, yes, then you can do nothing else except waiting until that you see your own child.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
you are
Appreciate it.
welcome. Thank you too.
Samantha, yeah, she's
Okay,
muted. Yeah.
good evening. Okay, hello everyone. It's evening here in Nigeria. So thank you so much, Ma, for all you've said. I joined in a bit late due to network glitches, but I was able to get some things that were helpful. So my question is, my name is Samantha, and I'm a girls advocate and also an advocate for menstrual health and hygiene. Yeah. So I want to ask, how would one thrive in leading at leading her voice for social change when it comes to situations or circumstances that are stereotyped? Take, for instance, menstrual hygiene, menstrual education. I'm coming from northern Nigeria, and issues like this are not things that are being spoken of vocally. They are things that should be shied, that should be shied away and shoved away. So how would one triumph through the barriers, the stereotypes, the religious sentiments and all of that, because of all these things? Sometimes you because things like, okay, menstrual hygiene are not even regarded as important. You hardly get support, you hardly get um yeah, people don't even see it as important. They are like, okay, what are you doing? Why are you even majoring things? There are more important things that people are facing. But these are things that it's only women it's only menstruators that know what they are passing through when it comes to period poverty and stuff like that. So how would one triumph in such situations where it seems as if people around are not seeing the importance? And sadly enough, most times even the victims, those you want to help, are not even seeing it because it's not the norm. It's not the norm. I'm actually speaking based on experience, because here in northern Nigeria, period poverty is a big issue, and people are not seeing it as an issue, but it really is a very big issue, and it's a major concern and a burden in my heart. So I just thought if you could say something concerning, like, how I can what I can do to foster my action in that area. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Samantha. Before you mute yourself, what part of northern Nigeria are you in?
Kaduna State. I'm from Niger. I'm currently schooling in Niger State, but I've been born and brought up in Kaduna State. So
Okay.
northern.
Okay, great. I'm asking because I have also done quite a number of projects in northern Nigeria, and
Wow.
I served in Kebbi State. So
Oh,
yeah, Palago, and I stayed there for about a year, so I know what you're talking about. But I think all you need to start, like I said, the toolkit is you. Start from where you are. For me, I seized the opportunity for my CDS to go to some schools with some fellow core members to talk to school, girls about this. So by the time you speak to the school head and they say, yes, they understand this and they allow you, you're moving one person, one school at a time. It was even hard to get the girls to open up to even have such conversations. You literally see them just covering their faces, and shying away, and no one. Yes,
I think
I have that experience. Go on.
sometimes it's when you get halfway into the discussion and they see that, okay, someone like me is actually talking about things like this. That means it's not something I should shy away from. That's when they start to open up a little bit and on like that.
So another thing you need to know that is that change is not, sometimes change is very slow. So you just need to start from, even after I left Kebbi State, I was still able to do some projects around menstrual hygiene in the north. So just take it one at a time and identify with organizations that are already doing this. The support may not come from within the north, it can come from outside, but of course you can do those projects there. I don't know if you know Adek Basi. She's in Adamawa State.
No, man.
She
I'll
went,
look her up.
yes, doing a lot of work around sexual reproductive health there. And I've even partnered with her before to do projects in Adamawa. So it is possible. One person at a time, one state at a time. And soon enough, it may take a long time, but yes, we will get there.
No, yeah,
Thank you for
true.
sharing, Samantha.
Thank you so much, Ma.
I
All
get
right.
her. You have-
Hi. Yeah, thank you for that. Really appreciate it. So my question is, I think maybe in twofold. So first is, I mean, obviously, like you're a great activist and like you've done so much within the space, but what do you think has been your biggest challenge so far? Like, with the work that you've done, from Nigeria and like, to here where you are in Europe, it's like two continents. And also, I know you're passionate. I know you personally, so I know you're passionate about these things, but has there ever been a time where when you hit like a roadblock and you ask yourself like, is all this even worth it? Like, you wanting to, do this, do that, and like be part of this whole UN SDG attaining, what by 2030. Like, do you ever question yourself? Like, do you ever come to that moment that you question yourself as to if this is all worth it, in the grand scheme of things? Yeah, that was my question.
Yes, I've had so many of such experiences, and that's why I put that slide on keeping the dream alive, because you know, especially at the for a number of reasons. At the beginning, when you start, most of these things we do voluntary, you know, or you not only voluntary, you even put in your finances, the little you have, to be able to make these things possible. But then there comes a point for me, I was able to do those because I just got out of the university. That's when I started. I was still living with my parents. But then when it comes a time where you have to work, for yourself, and then now for me raising a family, me taking a little bit of break, just a little to do my master's, I'm now thinking of things. Yes, the general, life thing and adulthood, like I like to call it, it happens to everyone. And sometimes when you hit those, roadblocks of maybe not being able to pay your bills, or you're passionate and you don't find people who want to be able to fund, what you're doing, not for yourself, but for the global good, or the common good of people. But it can be a challenge to say, but I am not asking you for money for myself. I just want to be able to help, people, or, and even help you on the long run. So, but the challenges I faced in Nigeria, are quite different, than what I have here. I think, if, you know how populated Nigeria is, and you know how many great people like us. The competition is really stiff. There's so many people grappling for really limited resources. So I feel like all the years I put in into the work, and I love my country. I'm looking forward to going back to do great things very soon. But the efforts, all the efforts that I put in there, if I put all of that effort here, the level where it will be really different. I'll be in a very, very different level. So yeah, there are challenges everywhere. It comes, but just knowing how to navigate it as they come is, and most important thing, really keeping the dream alive. So even though I cannot do projects every other month or like I used to, can I at least support maybe 10, like we just did, supported 10 women who are farming with seedlings and pesticides so that they can actually keep going. Well, I'm not able to do 10 projects in a year, but at least I can do, something. So I think just learning how to keep the dream alive, however small or however little, will actually go a long way.
All right. Whilst you were just rounding up, another question. This will be my last question, I promise.
It's okay.
What has been like your biggest like achievement so far? I mean, like you said, like, recognition and achievement is also important because sometimes, yes, you want to put in the work. Yes, you're doing amazing things, and it's also, you're doing amazing things. You don't need anyone to tell you that, but then it's also great like when somebody notices and somebody recognizes you in that sense. So, I mean, I don't know if you're going to say what I think you're going to say, but what do you think has
Okay.
been your greatest achievement out of like the 6, 7 years that you've been in this international development space and what you're doing?
Okay, it's hard to say because I am too ambitious a person. So after one opportunity comes or one recognition comes, I'm looking forward to the next. I like to quickly, it can be good and it can be a bit bad sometimes too. I quickly, when I say I like to outgrow when I have an achievement, I always said, yes, this is great. Like I should be proud of myself, but there's also more to be won. I can just continue what I'm doing and I can get another one because whether we like to say it or not, we know we're doing great, but having that extra pat on the back, it's just priceless. But maybe I can share one or two where I was really, like I really feel like I did really well. I think the first one would be where we met, with the one campaign because it was my first, it was my first like first international exposure. Like I just started out and audition thought, oh, what she's doing is actually great, and I got selected. But apart from that, I think maybe the next, there's so many others, but like I said, I like to outgrow them. I think the next will be the scholarship that actually brought me here to study for my master's study. And then I'm looking forward to the next. Like I move, I move on quickly. So I think that's another thing that also keeps me going, keep working and all of that. Because now I've completed my studies. So what next? What can I do? So it's good.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, Phoebe, over to you.
Does anyone have any other questions? You can put them in the chat or raise your hand. If not, then I'll pass over to Gertrude for closing remarks.
Yeah, so yeah, if you still have any questions as I speak, yeah, please feel free to interrupt me or put in the chat and we'll definitely have it answered by Benedicta, of course, or by any of us if it's directed to any of us. But yeah, on behalf of the Global Activist Network team, I'd like to say a very big thank you to you, Benedicta, for engaging with us the second time. I mean, yeah, for like availing yourself and also like sharing your knowledge and experiences and everything with us. We really appreciate it. And then yeah, thank you so much to everyone who joined us as well on a Saturday evening, wherever you are. I mean, it's still like, could be anywhere else but here. So thank you so much for spending time with us to listen to our amazing guest speaker. And
Thank you.
yeah. Oh,
Just to add, thank you so much, everyone, for having me. I promise to put up the link for
your course.
yes, so that it's a free course.
Yeah, sure.
Just ensure you subscribe while at it. I'm gonna share the link. I think maybe I can put the link in the chat
Yeah,
so that
sure.
you can access it. Thank you again, everyone. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And then yeah, so we'd like to, if nobody has any questions, yeah, we would like to end the session, but just to take note, please follow us on our social media platforms. We are Global Activist Network on Facebook and LinkedIn, and we are at GAN Leadership on Twitter and Instagram. We are just like a month old. We launched just last month, so we are very new in the space. I've known Benedicta since 2017, almost 7 years now, where we both met as one at the One Summit in Brussels in 2017 at the European Parliament. Yeah, and for me, it's just like a privilege doing this. Like I've done a lot of like advocacy work without having necessarily having like a NGO foundation. Like I didn't really or wasn't obsessed with like having something or putting a name to like things, but then there comes a time when, like, you know, you've built yourself so much that you want to kind of like extend certain like support or help, or provide a platform to like other people. So like this is sort of like an example of such. So we just launched last month, and this is our second session, obviously, like International Women's Day session. And we'll be having monthly session, as well as other things that we would share with you once they are through on our social media platforms. So please do well to follow us for your upcoming updates and, you know, all that we have in store with this network. And that is it for me. My co-founder couldn't be here, unfortunately, but then she sends her love to everyone. And that will be all for me for now. So thank you again, and have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Benedicta.
Thank you, Phoebe.